Yeah, where can we go invite people?
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on. It's live.
Well, good evening.
We're kind of waiting for people to get on,
Oh.
so. You might as well just kind of like. Make sure people know you're there. Are you standing in the picture?
I'm not standing.
Stand in the picture.
Why?
I can't find the video. Is it live?
And live video.
Well, it's not 5:30 yet. There we go. Invite friends. That's what I was looking for. Invite. Invite.
Oh dear.
Who else?
Boyd and Janet. And you said Sophie? Yeah.
We got Renee.
No. The one who shared it. Yeah.
Well, we're waiting to get started. This is our Kids Club Live edition. We're trying something brand new. Up to this point, we've almost done it completely live. I mean, completely recorded. So we're going to do something different. This is kind of a just like we would do it for Wednesday nights normally, minus the energy of the kids. So we're going to do our regular Go Fish Guys videos. So you'll have to kind of get into that. That's kind of fun. And then, oh, hey, somebody liked it. All right, cool. I don't know how many people are here, but if you're on, just say, hey, I'm here. I see my mom and dad have already joined us. We're going to get started here in about another minute or so. Kind of give people a chance to jump on here. Like I said, this is a little new, so kind of getting an idea of what. How all this works, still getting used to the technology and getting used to live technology. So, but I'm really glad we got this. Thanks to a generous gift from our district, we were able to get a new webcam, and that's going to allow us to take a little higher quality videos. We put an old laptop into use, so we still have our old laptop. We have our regular laptop to do videos, and I need the clicker.
You have the clicker.
No, I got the clicker. And now nobody's on the camera.
Oh. I was drinking. There you go.
Oh, Janice is on.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think, we got a couple of people joining, but this is for those of you who just joined us, this is our kids club. We're going to do it live, minus the kids, obviously, but we're going to have a good time tonight.
Some friends
we
with
brought
us.
some. This is our friends. These are our buddies. There's some stories behind these. Now the bears, they're fairly new. They're all Build-A-Bears, and this is my bear.
Naked Bear.
He was Naked Bear for a long time, but and he's now Hatless Bear. I just messed up his hat, but he and I matched tonight. We're both in Phillies jerseys, and then there's Sergeant Bear over. There's two.
Staff Sergeant
Ricciardi and Sergeant Scruffy. This one's James's. Captain. And then we have this is Pussycat. This is James's when he was really little. As a matter of fact, somewhere here, I think you can still see it there. I don't know if you can see it, but somewhere there is a still from his sisters way back when they painted his toenail. They painted his toenails. But when James had James had an operation when he was really little. Pussycat went to the hospital with him and went into the operating room with him. So that was kind of cool. And then way up front here, this is Lemon. This is Anna's dog that she has had forever and ever and ever. So, oh, cool. I'm watching the comments. So sitting right here. But this is Lemon. This is Anna's stuffed animal. It has been through many moves, and it still provides her comfort. And that's what we're talking about tonight.
And this is a proof that there are polar bears in Canada.
All right. So we're going to talk about comfort tonight. And so the question is have you ever been afraid, especially as a kid? Think about when you were a little kid and what you were afraid of. And immediately I think of when we're kids, what we're afraid of is number one, thunder and lightning.
Yeah.
That can definitely scare us. And then the other thing that can really scare us as children is the thought of going to the doctor, because when you're little, when you go to the doctor, what do you need to get?
A shot. And
so that's not something that you really enjoy. So we want to talk about comfort tonight. But before we do that, we're going to have some fun. Like I said, we've got a couple of videos. We need to get everybody moving. So if you're at home, stand up and we'll go ahead and do these videos together. They're pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, party people? This is DJ Praise C, and we're gonna have some fun. So swing your move to the beat with my moving feet. That's right. Moving to the beat with my moving feet. I said now moving to the beat with my moving feet. Come on. Moving to the beat. Here we go. Slide to the left. Now slide to the right. Jump up 2 times and turn around. Let's do it again. Come on. Slide to the left. Now slide to the right. Jump up 2 times and turn around. Come on. With my groovy feet, let me see you go moving to the beat. With my groovy feet, I said yeah, moving to the beat. With my groovy feet, let me see you go moving to the beat. With my groovy feet, now freeze. The disco eyes. Gonna jump 4 times. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now freeze. To the disco eyes. Gonna jump 4 times. 1, hey, come on, let's dance. Come on. With my groovy feet, let me see you go moving to the beat. With my groovy feet, I said yeah, moving to the beat. With my groovy feet, let me see you moving to the beat. Everybody, clap your hands. Get your hands up.
God is great.
God is good.
God is good.
He is my king.
He is my king.
Praise him.
Praise him.
God is great.
God is great.
God is good.
God is good.
He is my king.
He is my king.
Praise him.
Praise him.
With my groovy feet, let me see you move to the beat. With my groovy feet, I'll sit down there to the beat. With my groovy feet, let me see you move to the beat. With my groovy feet, I'll sit down there to the beat. With my groovy feet, let me see you move to the beat. With my groovy feet, I'll sit down there to the beat. Put your hands up. With my groovy feet, let me see you move to the beat. With my groovy feet.
We love that song. We always like to do that to get the wiggles out. This is a little song called Sunday School Swing. It has some of our favorite old Sunday school songs in it. Here we go.
The Bible, yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the Word of God. The Bible, the Bible. Yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the Word of God, the Bible. I've been waiting all week long for Sunday to come so I can sing my songs. Have a little church, I think everybody's rocking to the Sunday school swing.
Woo. This is going to show how well I really actually know these videos. Do them every week.
Joshua, the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua, the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. Joshua, the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua, the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling, tumbling down. I've been waiting all week long for Sunday to come so I can sing my songs. Have a little church, do our thing. Everybody's rocking to the Sunday school swing. The Sunday school swing. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I've been waiting all week long for Sunday so I can sing my songs. Have a little church, do our thing. Everybody's rocking to the Sunday school swing. I've been waiting all week long for Sunday to come so I can sing my songs. Have a little church and do our thing. Everybody's rocking to the Sunday school swing. Oh, Sunday school swing. Jesus loves me, this I know.
Well, I'm so glad that we have some of our friends. We have some of our friends from the Western New York district. They're watching, their kids are watching and understanding they're having a blast. So thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to try to do this every Wednesday night as long as we're locked in. We're having a lot of fun and out of breath because I haven't been doing any running, and so I'm a little out of breath. But so we talked about this idea of comfort, and sometimes we get into some uncomfortable places. And Pastor Pam's going to talk about three guys. Their names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And we're starting a brand new series, at least temporarily, while we're on quarantine, lockdown, stay in place, whatever you want to call it. But while we're here, we're going to do this story called Toy Box. And tonight's lesson is about stuffed animals. And we're going to learn about comfort tonight. And the story comes from the book of Daniel. And it's about a guy named Shadrach, about three guys named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, or shake the bed, make the bed, and away we go. But anyway, there was a king named Nebuchadnezzar, and Pam's going to tell you the rest of the story.
So Nebuchadnezzar, the king, decided he was going to build a statue that was 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide.
That's huge.
Of himself.
Wow. He thought highly of himself.
Yeah. And so after he made it, he decided to invite the governors, all the people in charge of the provinces.
All the important people.
All the important people in his kingdom.
Yeah.
And so when they got there, he announced to them that you're going to bow to this statue of me.
There's that 90-foot statue.
And if you don't bow, you're going to die. How would you like that kind of stuff? Bow or die. And so he said, here's your cue. The horns and flutes and lyres are all going to play, and that was the moment you are supposed to bow to this statue. And so all of a sudden, the horns and the flutes and the lyre, they started going, and everybody bowed except for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
How would you like to be the only 3 people in the entire crowd, in the entire known world at the time, that in the distance of those trumpets, that didn't bow? I bet you they were just a tad uncomfortable at that time.
And so King Nebuchadnezzar goes, did you not understand what I said? You're supposed to bow when the horn and the flute and the lyre, and if you don't bow, you're going to die. And they're like, yeah, we understood, but we only bow to one person, and that one person is we bow into front is God. And so King Nebuchadnezzar said, you know what? I'm going to give you another chance. He was a nice guy.
Somewhat of a nice guy.
Somewhat of a nice guy. And so they played the horn and the flute and the lyre, and they all bowed again except for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Oh, you know, there's an important part in this story where the Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, the king says, are you going to bow? And they say, we will not bow to you, O king. And we will not bow. If we die, we die. But we know this, that God will save us. God will deliver us. So they were pretty comfortable in the fact that God cared about them, weren't they?
And the king got really mad. You know what? He got really mad. He said, enough. You're going to die in the furnace, and I'm going to make sure you're going to die. So,
do you think there was steam coming out of his ears?
I think so.
Probably, yeah.
And so he said, make it 7 times hotter than normal.
7 times hotter.
So the soldiers bounded him probably, and they walked him to the furnace, and the soldiers were dying.
The soldiers were dying.
They weren't even there, and the soldiers, just as they get closer and closer, the soldiers were dying, and all of a sudden,
just over a little bit.
all of a sudden, they got them, and they threw him in the furnace.
They threw him in the furnace.
And guess what? The king was looking at the furnace, and he was like,
what?
How many men did we throw in?
Well, remember, he just watched his guards fall to death on the steps from the fire, and now he's looking in the furnace, and there's people walking around.
People walking around, and so he's wondering how many, because he's going 1, 2, 3. I think we threw 3 people in, but there's 4 people standing there.
4 people. How did 4 people get in?
God went with them.
Oh, yeah.
God walked through the fire and the scary moment to comfort Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah, yeah.
And the king were like, they're not even dying. Their clothes are probably not even burning. God saved them. And
can you imagine what a miracle that was, Pam?
It was.
Have you ever stood around a campfire?
Yeah, they're pretty hot sometimes.
Well, when you get done standing around a campfire and you walk away from the campfire, what's up? Doesn't your smell smell like they burned, singed, and all that? And here they were standing in the fire, and their clothes didn't even smell like they were in the fire. That's pretty cool.
And so finally, King Nebuchadnezzar said, "Bring them here." And so they brought Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And he said, what happened? Who was that person? And they got to witness to King Nebuchadnezzar how God saved them. God walked through the fire. He protected them. He comforted them. And Nebuchadnezzar, you know what happened with Nebuchadnezzar? He decided that their God was the one true God.
Wow, that's pretty
and
cool.
He changed his opinion.
He changed his opinion.
He wasn't that big of a guy to have a statue made of him.
Well, at least he changed his opinion for a while.
For a while.
But for a while, he said, you know what? I like the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And he bowed down and he worshiped. And he said, you know what? No more of this nonsense. We're going to follow Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's God. So what does that teach us about stuffed animals? We have all these stuffed animals, and I remember several years ago we had an event happen in our house, and I took a picture of Pam, not with this guy, but with one of the stuffed animals she was just holding, and you know, it looked kind of silly if we were a banker or something and we were
at our job
and we were holding on to a stuffed animal, or most of you remember Linus and his Blanky. But teddy bears and stuffed animals and blankies might be a little silly for adults, but I bet you the kids here have either a blanket or a stuffed animal, and when you're feeling sad or insecure, you can go to grab your mommy or daddy, or you can also grab your stuffed animal for scary nights. But you know, as adults, we can't do that. So there's something else we can rely on, and that is even for kids. Is not only can we rely on our stuffed animals, but we can rely on God, because the same God that rescued Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego also. A few years later, there was a little guy named Daniel, and he was praying to God, and they told him that he couldn't pray to God, but he still prayed to God. And when it finally came down to it, you know what? He was like, I'm going to pray, and they said, you're going to go into the lion's den, and so the king had to throw him into the lion's den, and in the morning the king got up and went there and found Daniel. He was like, wow, how'd that happen? And my God protected me. And so we have a God that protects us. He goes through the fire with us. He goes through scary times with us. And it's kind of interesting because today is the day that's believed that Mary came to, the angel Gabriel came to Mary. And I've been writing a lot about comfort today. And I used this passage earlier, not knowing that I used this scripture earlier, not knowing it was going to be part of tonight's lesson. And here's what it says. It's about Jesus. Jesus is our comfort. He can be with us. This high priest of ours understands all of our weaknesses because he faced all of the same testings that we do. When you go through trials, when you go to the doctor and have to get a shot, or when you when there's a thunder or lightning storm, Jesus was a boy, and he was a child just like you are. And we can remember that he's going to be there. He knows what it's like to be scared. He knows what it's like to scrape his knee. But this same high priest, he faced all the same testings that we do, yet he did not sin. So what is it? What does the writer of Hebrews says? He says, let us come boldly to the throne of our gracious God, and there we'll receive his mercy, and we will find grace to help us when we need it most. And so Jesus tells us, the writer of Hebrews tells us, that Jesus cares about us. There's another scripture that says, cast all your cares, cast all those things that you're afraid of upon Jesus, because he cares for you. And so tonight, our lesson is that God cares for us. Our teddy bears, they can give us comfort, but they're not God with skin on, are they? Boy, they just keep wanting to fall there. Yeah. They can't guide us and comfort us the way Jesus can. So remember, if when you are afraid, when I'm afraid, we can trust in God. And when we are afraid, we can ask him in prayer to help us, and he will help us not be afraid. And so that is our kids club for tonight. Normally after the lesson, we have snacks. So
your snack is whatever at your
whatever
house.
Whatever is at your house, that's what
and
you can have for snack.
And Mommy lets you have.
And we can do, normally we have a craft, but that's kind of hard to do virtually. But I thank you for joining us tonight at Kids Club, the coronavirus edition, but the quarantine edition, I should say. And we hope you have a great week. We'll be back next Wednesday night at 5:30. We love you, and we're great evening.